I am Supreme, and today's Astro Oracle investigation will be on Jelani Day, who was 25 years old from Danville, Illinois, who vanished August 24th, 2021. Jelani Jesse Javante Day was born June 15th, 1996. He was a graduate student at Illinois State University, and he graduated from Alabama A&M, where he pledged Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Now, this case is a new subscriber's request. Shouts out to King Leo 9754. So I appreciate all of my subscribers for suggesting content, especially new subscribers, because I always put your suggestions to the front of my itinerary. So thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing, thank you for viewing, and keep suggesting. I enjoy the content. I'm trying to solve as many cases as I can. I'm trying to find as many missing men, women, and children from all races, all walks of life, all religions, everywhere. That is my heart. So let's talk about Jelani. I've had some time to sit with this case. I pulled charts on him. I've had time to go over these charts, and I'm going to tell you why I've had time to sit with this case. You'll soon see why. Jelani's car was found 2 days later in the woods near Peru, Illinois, which was an hour away from where Jelani was going to college. Now, Jelani's body, yes, he was found. His body was found. Jelani is dead. This is why I had to sit with this case, because this investigation is going to be on what actually happened, because we know Jelani's dead. So I had to sit with this so I can really take my time and connect the dots, because otherwise these readings will be about 3 or 4 hours long. So his body was recovered from the Illinois River September 4th, 2021. He was identified through dental records. The coroner determined the cause of death was drowning, but the manner of death was left undetermined, not ruling out homicide, suicide, or accident. An autopsy report found no evidence of foul play, but the family disputes this, believing he was murdered. His mother is completely dissatisfied with the investigation and continues to advocate for justice, pointing out to what she believes are crucial clues that have been overlooked. So I pulled the chart of Jelani's birth, where the planets were aligned. I have it in front of me. Jelani Day was born June 15th, 1996. Jelani Jesse Javante Day was born to Carmen and CV Day. I'm assuming it's, excuse my mispronunciation of the father. CV Day, Seve. I guess that's how you say it. If not, forgive me. So, June 15th, 1996, the sun was in Gemini and the moon was in Gemini. So Jelani was a new moon baby. A new moon is when the sun and the moon is in the same sign. So when the sun and the moon is in the same sign, when any sign that has the sun and the moon in the same sign is always an Aries rising chart. This is a new moon chart. Every new moon baby has this chart. All of the signs are in its actual natural house. The red represents whose house it is, and the black represents who's there. Every sign is in its own house. So, this is Jelani Day's birth chart energy. He is a Gemini. In fact, his sun, his moon, his Mercury, his Venus, and his Mars is in Gemini in the third house, in its own house. Gemini represents the intellect. It represents the local environment. The third house represents the local environment. We all have Gemini energy. Okay? Jelani had very strong Gemini energy. It was who he was, his sun. It was how he felt, his actual nature and personality, the moon. It was how he thought, his intellect, and how he interacted and communicated, his Mercury. It was also his love life and his power of attraction, Venus. And it was also his physical impulse, his adrenaline energy, his physical force, his ability to act, and his behavior, Mars. So, all of this going on in the third house. Jelani's life was full of interactions. He was very popular in school because Gemini is the school energy. And all four major planets, well, three major planets, including the sun, was all in Gemini. He had a very, very active intellect. Anybody with the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars in Gemini is a very popular individual. Very social, very communicable, very versatile. He had many relationships. Maybe not serious relationships, but he knew a little bit of everybody. He dipped and dabbed in a little bit of everything when it came to what he loved. And he knew a little bit about everything. So, what was going on the day Jelani disappeared? Before we get to his death, let's find out what was going on the day he vanished. August 24th, 2021. The sun was in Virgo and the moon was in Aries. And when you put an Aries moon in Virgo's house, which is the sixth house, Scorpio is rising. Now, this is what I had time to sit with. I'm going to go over some things. The dots that I've connected. Jelani Day. You see Scorpio came first? This is the energy of power, control, sex, death, shared resources. This is an eighth house chart because Scorpio is the eighth sign of the zodiac. We all have Scorpio energy. But if you look in the actual eighth house, which is the house of death, Scorpio's house, look what you see. All of Jelani is dead. You see Jelani right there, Gemini. The sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars is in the house of death. This is going to paint a picture of how it all happened. By going into Gemini's house, which is the third house. Because remember, Jelani was born in the third house. So let's look at what's going on in the third house the day he went missing. You see Capricorn. That's law enforcement. Capricorn is the law enforcement energy. Capricorn is the authority figure. When it's in the third house, this is a run-in with law enforcement, especially when all this Gemini activity, especially when the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars of the victim is there. Now, the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars was not in Gemini in this chart. Jelani's energy was in Gemini in this chart because Jelani was the one that had this run in, and Jelani was the one that's dead. And you can clearly see that. Even if they didn't find his body yet, I would still know that he's dead because of where he's located at. Y'all know that from my previous investigations. Also, make sure y'all are utilizing my tutorial in the link below, which is an Astro Oracle timestamp tutorial where you can click on any sign you hear me talk about, any house number you hear me talk about, or any planet. I give you a general meaning of that sign, that planet, and that house number. So that way, when you see a combination of signs and numbers and planets, and I point to it, you will see how I'm formulating my story. And you will also see why I know Jelani was dead. Now, let's elaborate on what led to his death. This run in with law enforcement. He had a run in with law enforcement. That run in is what led to his death. Why? Because Scorpio came first. Scorpio was in Jelani's eighth house of death in his birth chart. And Scorpio rules death. So this was a timely death. So, being that it came first, how I know it was a death by run-in with law enforcement was because you got to follow Pluto. Pluto rules Scorpio. Pluto is the energy and planet of death, transition, transformation. And the day Jelani vanished, Pluto was in Capricorn, right here. He had a run-in with law enforcement. Capricorn rules the 10th house. In the 10th house, you see Leo. There was drama involved. There was fighting. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Because like I told you, I sat here with these charts. And I zoomed in on what happened. They beat Jelani Day. They pulled him over because, mind you, Jelani's last appearance on surveillance was at a cannabis dispensary shop where he bought a joint. So we do know Jelani was a smoker. Whether he did drugs on a regular or whether he sold drugs or not, and whether that was the reason why they pulled him over, but I do see that they pulled him over because he was speeding. He was going over the speed limit. Jelani Day had a nice vehicle. He was going over the speed limit. And on top of that, he was high. Jelani did not want to go to jail. He made the traffic stop more difficult than what it had to be. They chased him. They caught him. They beat him. They beat him unconscious and they beat him unrecognizably. He was stripped. And he was placed in the Illinois River. I sat with this. I sat with it. I connected the dots. I saw it all. Jelani was killed by law enforcement. That is how the planets were aligned. Scorpio comes first. Pluto is in Capricorn. This run-in with law enforcement. And in Jelani's chart, it was a timely death because law enforcement is in its own house in the public, doing what they do. Not killing people, but enforcing the law. But look, There goes law enforcement in Jelani's chart, and there goes Jelani's death. Right there in the 8th house in the local environment during this traffic stop, which is where all of Jelani's energy was. Leo, the energy of drama, the fighting that took place, is in its own house in Jelani's chart. Jelani was a type of individual. He was not a punk. We all have Leo energy. Wherever you have Leo energy is at in your chart represents where you are not a punk. And I'm not saying that all other signs are punks. It's just Leo is the lion in us. We all have Leo energy. Whether you have the sun there, the moon there, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, whatever. Even if you don't have a planet there, Leo sits in one of these houses in your chart. And that house is where you are definitely with the shits when it's time to be. And Jelani wasn't backing down. Now, it was a group of law enforcement officers. It was a group. I'm going to pull a chart and I'm going to give Jelani a voice. Jelani Jesse Javante Day, who was born June 15th, 1996, who was vanished and killed August 24th, 2021. Tell me what happened. Tell us what happened, Javante. I'm sorry, Jelani. He has a lot of names, and I promise you I'm not being funny. Jelani Jesse Javante Day. Okay. Yeah, he was severely beaten by the police, stripped, and the dead body was placed in the water. But he ran for his life and his freedom. Let's put this aside right quick. What happened to you, Jelani? Tell us in your own words what happened. Somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody is watching this reading that knows Jelani or his family and his family. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you'll be notified when I drop these investigations. Please share this reading. What happened, Jelani? Scorpio in the first house. Exactly what I read. Look, right there. We ain't got to pull another chart. Right there. That's exactly how it happened. Scorpio in the first house. That is exactly how it happened. Pluto rules Scorpio. Pluto was right here in law enforcement. That is exactly how it happened. That is exactly how it happened. Rest in peace to Jelani.